Should we start? I am looking like the teacher also with the specs. Good evening, everyone. Hi. Can I have your attention now? Okay, now that there is quiet in the room, so I can say that I'm very immensely pleased to welcome you all to this third edition of GOAT Talks. Do you know what GOAT stands for, Saurabh? Oh, yeah. But greatest of all times is the group of all-round talent of the club mates. We've reinvented it. We put together a speaker star cast tonight that will enthrall you with their stories of passion, experience, wisdom, and wit. Hold on to your seats as we gather here with spring still in the air, wine, beer, good cheer, and people dear. But before I introduce you to our speakers, let me also introduce you to the GOAT committee. Mr. Anil Dang. He's always at the back supporting everyone. Captain Ravinder Bakshi. He's also at the back. Mr. Lalit Vashisht. Mr. Nakul Ruparel. There he is. And me, your host, Vineeta Dwivedi. Thank you. The leader of this endeavor and the one who brings the eminent speakers here today is Mr. R. Suresh. He created GOAT to foster peer learning and celebrate talent at the club. I invite Suresh to say a few words. Chand Shabd. Do Shabd. Aye.
Good evening, friends. Great to welcome you all for this third edition. Thanks to GOAT Committee that we were able to put together this particular edition. And I can see even on a weekday, there is packed house. There are a lot of people still on the way because of the traffic. I'm sure they will be just about in time to catch up with the speakers. I particularly want to welcome the four speakers who readily agreed to share their life journey and their experiences, some points of despair, a lot of points of enjoyment that they've had. And so I would request all of you to join me in applauding the four people who are with us and who have taken trouble to speak about themselves. A bit uncomfortable here. Okay, so GOAT was, I think this is better, yeah. So GOAT was conceptualized by a few of us who are all in the GOAT committee. We said that a lot of discussions happen in a social forum like the club, and the discussions sort of petered down to politics, sometimes economy, sometimes your own business, sometimes religion, sometimes sports. Cricket occupies 30-40% of our chat. So, but when do we know what is professional and experience side of individuals? We never got to hear that. There are a lot of people who have done exceptionally well in their lives. Sometimes their experiences help us to remodel, although some of us are at the retirement or twilight phase of our professional career, but it's always good to learn and good to remodel. That was one objective why we will use this forum to drill deep and get people to talk about their own life and get all of us to come in sync with what they have done. So that was the first objective, to steer away from the regular conversation spiel, which is politics, religion, sport, blah, 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 blah. Get to know about them individually. That was the objective. The second objective is anything done in a group activity is self-development and a societal development. It's always helpful to be in a forum, have a drink, have a meal, talk about whatever you've had recently to talk about extensively with your colleagues. So the second objective is the social development. And spin-off of that will be sometimes a social connect leading to social trade. Before social commerce came into the picture in the internet era, social trade was what US and Europe always thrived upon. So sometimes the camaraderie will lead to some business. So why not? So there are a lot of individuals who are overlapping with the business interests of each other, so you can always get connected. Like last time, we had a stellar panel, and this time we are beating it. The last time we had a panel of speakers, which included, Pawan Goenka, Mahindra, Managing Director, Venkat Ramanan, Managing Director of L&T, Sandeep Batra, who was the finance chief of ICICI Bank, and we had Prakash Jain. And back of the envelope, I narrated that on that day, Mahindra, $25 billion, L&T, $50 billion, ICICI Bank, $100 billion market cap. It's not a joke to get that panel in front of you at your, I'm using the wrong word, but at your beck and call, stop them, ask them questions, and drill deep and understand what they're doing. So it is not a joke. And previously, we had a healthcare session, and these are the healthcare specialists who are entrepreneurs and who've done a great job in their life to serve the communities around us. At least not in the same order, or Sanjay Arora, he spoke about his journey to set up Suburban Diagnostics and then eventually sell that company off. Then we had Dr. Deepak Namjoshi, who spoke about Criticare. I remember he narrating the incident of he trying to rent a hospital and how the challenging it was. And Satish Khanna impersonating for his son, who couldn't attend that day, and he did a good job. He played a role of his son very well. So, and Fasten Up is growing leaps and bounds. From the time that we heard you to now, Fasten Up is much more ubiquitous, and everybody is now growing dependent on that brand, especially those who are running. So we had a healthcare theme, we had a large corporate theme, and this time we are having a domain-specific achievers. There are people, these 4 people, you dig deep, you get so many combinations of greatness. I don't want to come in between them and you, and start reeling out what they're known for. But they're extremely talented, and my and GOAT committee role was to spot the talent, request them, make them say, look, they don't mind coming out in the open and sharing their life. That's what they're doing today. So, but having said that all, these are the objectives. As I said, peer group is always a social development cause. It's always better to know professionally what each one is doing, and the social trade is also a potential. That's why this GOAT is being formed. And GOAT is generally greatest of all times, but we did the acronym to read group of all talent, because we have all kinds of talent. We have 20 specialist doctors, we have lawyers, we have bankers, we have businessmen, we have large-sized professionals, small-sized professionals. Mind you, we also have consultants in this group. So we have we have a good group. So we said group of all-round talent, and we, acronym-wise, it's suited. And these are the objectives we are achieving. Before I hand it over to Vineeta, I want to thank her. She's an extraordinary talent herself. I mean, she is mind-boggling. I've had the greatest privilege to sit alongside her and make the communications, her message, and her abilities to link to what has to be achieved on a piece of paper is tremendous. She has very little peers in that category, I can assure her, because I've been in the business of talent. And Captain Bakshi, Lalit, Nakul, Anil Dang. I mean, you can't get a better carve-out to support an event like this than them. Never has anyone said, no, I'm not available, I'm busy, I'm having traffic jam, I'm having doctors diagnostic test today, I'm having meetings, I'm stuck in traffic. None of them. We have had so many meetings, enjoyed. In fact, half of the meeting has been joking around, rather than we forget sometimes that we have to talk of the menu for the next day. So it's been a fantastic experience for me to carve out this team and work with them. So I want to thank from the bottom of my heart whatever little we have achieved. That's all from my side. Enjoy the rest of the day. It is excellent, excellent forum. It's going to be getting only better. And unfortunately, Venkat Ramanan and Pawan sent their regret because Venkat Ramanan is stuck in Coimbatore and Pawan Goenka is in Delhi. He has a Prime Minister meeting tomorrow. So we couldn't, and I tried to get them. Sandeep Batra is walking in any time, he's on his way. Oh, hi Sandeep, sorry. Then Prakash Jain also traveling, he couldn't come. He said his son can come in representation, but his son is busy in tennis court than here. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much. Welcome all of you once again, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Suresh. That was lovely. Now I will invite our first speaker of tonight. And we've done a draw of lots on a very trashy paper, but this is how it is. It's all egalitarian and democratic. So our first speaker is Mr. Girish Nadkarni. A big round of applause, please. He's a seasoned leader with over 28 years of proven and diversified experience in leading large private equity investment businesses across the spectrum. He is an equity partner and chief investment officer at GHS, backed by Goldman Sachs, Warburg Pincus, and Hill House. He was previously partner and co-head private equity at InvestCorp India, and he has been a partner at PE at IDFC Private Equity. He's had earlier roles at Tata Group in senior management position. He's made 25 substantial investments in various businesses and successfully exited 15, with 4 transactions above $1 billion US. He has experience of investing globally and has invested in North America, Europe, Africa, and of course, India. And he is a Fulbright scholar from Carnegie Mellon, an All India rank holder, chartered accountant, MBA from IIM Kozhikode. It goes on and on. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Girish Nadkarni.
Thank you, Vineeta. Thank you, Suresh. Thank you for the opportunity. And I'm saying I met some of the people around, and I see the people from various walks of the life, and really would like to meet some of them I couldn't meet. Thanks for this opportunity once again. Education system in India is completely broken. I was talking with Saurabh, and I said, let me talk about it a little bit. I'm sure some of you must be having some people going to colleges or universities at your home, right? Many of them would be studying very hard. But what we are seeing from the different perspective, like IITs, IIM, now there are 21 IIMs in the country, and you might have read the placement, the way placements are happening. There are a lot of people who are not getting placed, or even the compensations are going down. Suresh would vouch for it. All this is happening at the same time. We have seen the new universities are coming. Anyone has heard about a university called MU, Master Union? Yes. You might have heard, right? It's just 2.5 years old. One of my friend, Pratham Mittal, he has started this. And their second year track record, they have beaten IIM Ahmedabad. And average placement is 37 lakhs. They got 9 VC offers for their students, for their startups. And it's a phenomenal, right? Where the IIM Ahmedabad and people today are considering taking, between the IIM and MU, which is just 3 years old, they are deciding which is better. If you heard about a Scalar is a Bangalore-based, Suresh, you may be aware. Scalar is also an education institution where they are starting a technology program. They don't give a B degree, but they have created a curriculum which is managed, or it is actually designed by Microsoft, Google, and Walmart. As a result, when these students are graduate, they are immediately picked up by Google for the global office. And their placement is also very different. What is happening is that similarly various places, Plaksha is the one which has come up in Mohali, there is one in Chennai, Great Lakes. A lot of people are coming up with the programs because education system today is in a very different, it needs to be completely rehauled. And where we are, this is the front end of the education system where you actually take people and do educate them. The back end of the system continues to be the student housing, the hostels. And our current venture, we invest into hostels. I'll talk about the model, but before that, I'm sure many of you would have stayed in the hostels. If I can just raise your hand, how many of people have stayed in the hostel? I think almost, there are more than 50%. And our hostels are not really hostels, they are dormitories, I think. right? There are 4 people staying together, common toilets, you know, there are no air conditioning, no Wi-Fi, or Wi-Fi maybe of very poor quality. And as a result, what happens is that, particularly medical students, you know, there are 7 top medical colleges in Bombay. So one starting with nearby to JJ, then we have Sion, we have Rajawadi, then we have, you know, a couple of others. And I met all the students, and these are the brightest student one can get, right? In KEM, somebody gets admission, he requires 99.9% marks, only then he can get in. And this, when I did a focus group, like, you know, got all the students at one forum, and I spoke to them. The biggest grievance they had that, you know, they had such a dingy, you know, room in which 4 to 6 people were staying in one room, no window, no ventilation. And when they do MD or other, that 8 years, you know, they are stuck with one college. So 50% of your time, you know, is in the hospital, but 50% of time you are in the small room, right? So as a result, you know, there were tears in their eyes when we showed them the hostels can be very different. They said, is it really possible? And it can happen. So we set up this company called GHS, which is funded by Goldman, Warburg, and Hillhouse now. Hillhouse last month had committed additional $300 million. What we do is that, you know, we buy out the hostels completely. The way, whatever format they are, land, building, everything, we completely refurbish them. We create, if the attached bathrooms are not there, we convert them into attached bathrooms. We have done it in many places. We provide all the services, housekeeping, security, Wi-Fi, laundry, pantry, air conditioning, everything which student wants, right? In Jaipur campus, which is, you know, Manipal has a Jaipur campus, which has now 10,000 beds, which are owned by us now. We created 30 restaurants on the campus. Okay, because today's students are, you know, doing Swiggy, all food stuff comes into the room, nobody cleans it, it leads to a lot of health issues. Better they can go to restaurants and eat. So students should feel completely at home. That's our model. So we buy out the property first, and what we do, we pay a very large consideration to the university. And university, typically the land building may be worth something. Our consideration is much, much higher. For example, we acquired O.P. Jindal University in Sonipat. Some of you may be knowing O.P. Jindal is one of the top law college. Last month, they opened their admission at 11 o'clock, and 1 o'clock they closed it. And they charge 45 lakhs for the law college. It's one of the top college today in the country, apart from the government colleges. There we paid them 900 crores and acquired their land building and everything. Now we are the owners and operators. And in what we get in return, we became their exclusive operator for next 60 years. 60 years, right? So you know, in today's time, post-COVID, the parents have become very sensational that they don't want to get their student to, or the ward to stay in a place which could be unhygienic, common toilets, etc., where the, you know, a lot of things can spread through that. So, and the parents have deep pockets. They are willing to sponsor their kids. For, you know, today 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs is nothing for a kid, including every services. So, for example, NM college, right? They don't have any students, and we are talking to them to set up something in Jew. People are willing to pay 5 to 6 lakhs rupees per bed. It's a common sharing, two people staying together. And so we become 60 years operator for them. And within this 60 years, you know, these are the various services we provide. So today we have 24,000 beds, which are owned and operated. There are 3 colleges we are acquiring. One is Maharashtra, is a medical college. One in Rajkot, which is, you know, MBA and engineering college. And I was very surprised. I visited Rajkot for the first time. They had 1,500 international students. So the food chain is now becoming like this. Indian students are going overseas. The students from Middle East, Africa, and other places coming to India for study, because that price point they can study. And so they have 4,000 beds. And there's one very large college in Punjab, which 25,000 beds that we are closing. So with that, we would be touching 50,000 beds, even more than 50,000 beds. The largest company in the world is American Campuses, which is invested by Blackstone. And that company was valued at $5 billion. Last year, they took it private, from public to private. So this business internationally has been present for a very long period of time. In India, we are the only one currently. And we modified the structure to suit Indian sponsor, you know, the way they would look at it very differently. And our realization today, if you'll see, we make our occupancy is 93%. Our margins are 70% up, operating margins, EBITDA margins. We have made a profit of 200 crores last year. Wow. So, it's a very interesting business. And just to give some numbers, we offer all the services which I mentioned, from gym to mess. And we serve close to, we wash 1 crore clothes every year. We serve 3 crore meals. And we almost supply 30 crore liters of water. So, just to give a scale. But these operations, you can deal with 1 or 2 kids at home, but when you have 24,000 kids to deal with, it's not easy. And today's kids who are not millennium, they're one level Generation Z, they're very demanding. And so you cannot deal with them the way we used to deal when we were kids or we were in the college. So everything is app-based. They have an app, and there's a 2 hours within which any problem they have, whether it is water not coming, air conditioner not, gets solved on the app base. So, it cannot be managed, because 24,000 students means 24,000 headaches every day. So just to give some picture about, how the hostels today looking, this is academic block. The twin sharing room looks like this. So this is the one which you have bought as is and refurbished. The medical room, and then I said there are some hostels. This is our Manipal Jaipur campus. This is the gym, these are the laundry, and then again there is some restaurant. This is our flagship campus, Manipal Jindal University. Here we serve 17 cuisines in lunch, 17 cuisine in dinner, and high tea. They get high tea and they get morning breakfast. Can you tell me how many students would be eating in the restaurants, just as a percentage? Any guess? Okay, I'll give an example. In South, we only serve curd rice and sambar rice. Okay, and non-veg is egg on the Saturday. 100% people eat. So, can you guess how many people would be eating when we serve 17 cuisine? No, only 30% people eat. Because, there is a difference between the North culture and South culture, right? Huge. South, we serve only curd rice, they are happy. North, they are not happy. So these are the 3 people. We are the one, behind the wheel. We are the equity partners with Goldman Warburg. And Goldman has exited, now Hill House is in. And all of us have more than 25 years of experience in doing different things. Just to talk about a little bit of academic journey, since it was about. So when I passed my CA exam, I got a rank, and I got 35 offers at that time, and I could select where I want to go. And thereafter, further education was really not. I thought probably not necessary, because it doesn't add much. But I kept on getting degrees after degrees, and because I was very passionate. I felt it is a lot of merit in getting more education. Your entire network changes, your type of friends you make, type of more younger people you join as you joined later. Okay. Luckily, I got Fulbright scholarship to study at Carnegie Milan, and also got various international programs I participated. So, all this helped me in my career journey. I have a little unique corporate journey, and typically you join a corporate or you join a financial services. Ideally, these are parallel tracks. You join as a management trainee and may become MD at some point in time in a corporate, or you join in the bank as an analyst and become MD partner at some point in time. Luckily, in my career, I became one of the youngest at the age of 38 EVP CFO of Tata Chemical Strategies, and I got a chance to move into private equity. There was a gentleman called Luis Miranda, who was a very well-known person in IDFC private equity, who quit, and IDFC approached me. So I made a parallel shift from corporate life to financial services, private equity, as a partner MD. Very rarely it happens. It has happened with few other people also, but not easy to happen. So in IDFC, we used to invest into infrastructure, roads, ports, that sort of typical classic infrastructure, and then we moved to infra enablers. Thereafter, I worked with InvestCorp as the India co-head and partner. This was, our Indian, over global AUM was $40 billion, and Indian AUM was $1 billion. That's Thereafter, 3 years back, I moved to GHS because I realized this is a very good opportunity. There's nobody in the country to have this platform. There are a lot of people, there are 4 to 5 funds which are now entering India. They have set up their offices. But, it's a business where we want to take a lead. I will talk about green infra, which is, as a private equity investor, I set up ahead of the time and exited. And a lot of people are now entering. It's not possible to make that sort of returns which we made. So if you are ahead of the game very early, you can make much higher returns very easily. Saurabh was asking me what return you underwrite, right? So I told him, and he was saying, is it really possible? It is possible because you are ahead in the game, and there's nobody else, right? So these are some of the deals I thought I should just put it. These are the 4 investment which are control investment, which are above $1 billion: green infra, General Chemical in the US, VSNL, and Idea Cellular. I was on the board of Idea Cellular as well. I'll talk about these 4 investment later. The growth equity, which are the minority investments which are here. And typically in a private equity, some of you might have raised money. Is there anybody here who has raised money from private equity? Okay, great. So you would understand, the private equity which takes a lot of time to invest. Typically, they look at 100 opportunities and then invest 2 or 3. The trend is changing, but that's what is the strike rate. So when you invest into 2025, you would need to see at least 1,000 investment opportunity and reject many. So few things, in this, every promoter, I have always realized that in the food value chain, if you look at, there is a pension funds in the US, pension fund and endowment funds, or insurance companies in the US, Europe, and other parts who have a lot of capital. They are running into trillions of dollars of capital invested. And they want to invest into India, China, other places, because this money has to come into emerging market, and within emerging market, public market, they get a lot of money, but they also invest into private markets, like us. In private market, they want to invest for longest period, if possible. So in renewable, you can go up to 25 years. The contracts are 25 years. Transmission contracts in India are 35 years. So you can invest and, you can get returns for 35 years. But after 35 years, there is no contract. Our contracts are 60 years. So I am very sure that once we set up the completely, we'll get a lot of money coming from international investment, endowment, pension funds, etc. And this one of the important things from promoters, they are very sharp. I have realized, and in our group also there are entrepreneurs who are going to speak after that. We also learn a lot of things from them. So one sponsor where I had invested, we have gone out for a cup of coffee, and I told him the coffee was some 300-400 rupees, and I told him, this reduces your profit by 300 rupees, and we pay you multiple of 20. So your value is reduced by, 400 rupees into 30. Not only that bill he didn't pay, thereafter next 10 years he's a good friend, but he never pays anything. So he picks up so fast that, you pay now because I have my value destruction. In our, when we in IDFC, we always used to say when we invest into a company, our dharma is when we exit. Typically we exit in 5 years. The company has to be much better company than which we have invested. Otherwise, we are not, lived up to our so-called dharma. We are not done. So we work with such companies in different format. For example, Star Agri is a company which is in agri warehousing. And I took them to IIM Ahmedabad for recruitment. If they had gone with their own logo, they would have got probably 3rd, 4th day and, may not have got. So we went there as IDFC, P, Star Agri. And I was there in the panel to interview. So we recruited a lot of people that way. One company, some people may know, Parag Milk, Go Cheese, Govardhan Ghee. You might have heard about this company. So we took it public. And, at some point in time, the issue was, we opened the issue, and it was not subscribed to our expectation, right? And there was a huge thought at that point in time that, let's withdraw the issue. Because company is really valuable, but it didn't, it didn't. And the family was divided between whether it should be withdrawn or we should. And I said, I think if you withdraw the IPO at this point, it will become soiled goods. People will remember its issue came and didn't subscribe. Just go ahead. and let's go ahead, whatever may happen. And I was selling in the issue. So I had an investor and I was selling in the issue. So if money comes, less money comes, I am the one who's loser, okay? So you don't worry about it. I'm taking the call in your favor. And it happened, and then on the listing day, everybody was saying the stock will tank by 20% at least. That's what people were saying, and we were in the BSC stock exchange waiting for, after the gong, the ticker to start, and it started with 1%, and it ended up 20% circuit breaker at the end. So it was another good call, and we always say, unless the sponsor, the promoter, consult us for his daughter's wedding, we are not so connected with him. He can talk to us business, that is fine, that is part of the job. But once he consults us on the daughter's wedding, then we have arrived, at least in his mind. So these are some of the investment. We'll talk about it. So there are 4 investment. There are many investments close to my heart, but these are the 4 I would like to talk. When I joined Tata Chemicals, in Tata Chemicals, manufactures soda ash, and soda ash gets into soap and other things which you might have aware. In India, the soda ash is manufactured through a synthetic process. That means it requires a lot of electricity, and then electricity, because of that, the cost of production per ton is around $150 per ton. Whereas if you look at the picture on the left, that is US, Wyoming, right in the desert, Wyoming belt, million years ago, by God's miracle, one big lake got converted into soda ash. I don't know how it happened, but something happened million years ago. And this is the purest form of trona. Trona is a soda ash, which is available. Just take it out from the mine, wash it, and this trona is available at $20. Now, $20 and $150, that is the difference. And $20 is the cost of transport to India. They decided to bring the product in India. If that would have happened, then, there's a business case for Tata Chemical was doubtful. And the first assignment which was given to me at this point in time, a lot of people had various ideas of partnering with them or, blocking them through lobbying, creating anti-barriers, anti-import barriers, etc. Somehow, my background being in private equity, I always thought, something radical should be done. So what could be done which can help us for a very long period of time? I thought, why not acquire the mine in the Wyoming? And historically, this entire belt is owned by 4 companies. Solvay, you might have studied in the college or school, Solvay process. Solvay are the scientists who started this process. So, the entire thing is owned by 4 people. Solvay, OCI is a Korean company, General Chemical, and FMC. FMC, one of the very large company in the US. Historically, they never sold any mines to anyone, and it's a monopoly. US talks about monopoly, anti-monopoly, and all that, but they have a cartel called ANZAC in the US that determines which part of the world soda ash will go at what price. Okay, nothing can be done. You will not get vessels if you want to do anything else. So they sell $20 soda ash in Latin America just down at $300. And they make huge money, okay, and that's how it is. So it was very unthinkable at one point in time to, how to go and approach them and buy them. And our market capital at that point in time was only 3,000 crores, where, something to buy this company would have required $1 billion. So how would you go about it? The whole idea was, initially when I spoke about it, people said it will not work, it is very difficult, and let's not try, and all that stuff happened, but eventually, sanity prevailed. They said, okay, if you want to try, try. I tried, I figured out among them the weakest player was General Chemicals. General Chemicals was weakest because it was owned by a private equity. And there was a guy called Phil Falcon. Phil Falcon was one of the highest paid fund manager in the US. His bonus was $150 million. And he was a very sharp guy. He had acquired 3 companies. One was soda ash company at a good valuation. He acquired a silica company and acquired a manganese company. All these products together, they go into soda ash manufacturing. So he said, henceforth, I will only supply to soda ash, to glass companies 3 products, not 1 product. Raw material, entire raw material I will supply. So he had 100% in both companies. In General Chemicals, he had 65%. So I went and met him, and he said, okay, what is the value and all that. We spoke, and he showed as if he can look at it And I made an offer to him. And then after that, he just disappeared. He was not taking my phone, nothing doing. And, my board said, okay, it looks like a good option, you try and explore. In fact, Mr. Tata held my hand. I still remember the pressure of his hand. He said, don't come back empty-handed. So I still feel the pressure, and after going there, he was not willing to meet me. So I was in a very tricky situation, but somehow I managed to meet him, and he gave me not more than 10 minutes, and he said, okay, this is if you take the only soda ash piece of it, my two companies will become redundant. So I will never sell. It is over my dead body. So that's it. And he just left. So again, I had to communicate with him, and then finally I realized he's not going to agree. So I made an offer to Tata Chemicals, directly to the board of directors of this General Chemicals, where he had 65% stake. It so happened that in US, the minority shareholders have a lot of say. They said, it's a good offer, why don't we even consider? It doesn't matter. You are not, we are not shareholder in other companies, it doesn't matter. At least give them a fair chance. So he said, okay, they has to obey. He said 30 days. I'll give you 30 days, close the transaction, otherwise quits. And 30 days was, doing $1 billion transaction in the US, 30 days, diligence. If you are aware, these processes take 3-4 months easily. And doing was not so easy, but he said, that's it. And then, next day I recruited 80 people in New York, and he was watching. Then he realized something is serious. People, we booked charter planes to go to Wyoming, etc. And finally, what happened is, oh, okay, all right. And, we required money, $1 billion. We didn't have money. So I got my bankers fly down to US, and then we did the transaction. And then transaction eventually, turned out to made Tata Chemicals number 2 player in the world, became chairman of ANZAC. The entire landscape changed. I did the leverage buyout by which the debt was put in the General Chemicals. In the US, it is allowed. You can directly pay, and they paid for it. So I was told now it's the 5 minutes left. So let me just quickly move on to this other platform. We realized, when we invested into sponsors, many sponsors are not trustworthy. Trustworthy sponsor is a oxymoron, because whatever you do, eventually they do something very different. So, IDFC partners, we came together, we said, all of us have operating experience, why don't we set up our own company? And this is how Green Infra was born. Green Infra, we set up, then I finally sold it to Semcop at $1.8 billion. This is the exit, which is one of the first exit in the country. Thereafter, a lot of money has come in renewables. But, I don't think, it has led to exit for many. Money, and we made return. 70% of the fund was exited from one investment. We made 25% IRR, 3.2 MOC. How does this work? No, the video, if I have to play, it can play from here.
On the private equity space, Singapore's Semcop Utilities, a wholly owned subsidiary of Semcop Industries, has agreed to pick up a controlling stake in Green Infra, a wind generation firm which is basically controlled by IDFC's private equity arm. Girish Nadkarni, partner at IDFC Alternatives, and Tang Kin Fee, the group president and CEO of Semcop Industries, join in to discuss the deal contours. Afternoon, gentlemen. Girish, let me come to you first. First, could you start by just throwing some more light on the deal as a whole?
Green Infra is a company which is incorporated and incubated by IDFC. And today we own 100% in this company. This company today has 516 megawatt of capacity, and soon it will touch 700 megawatt capacity. The current transaction is we are partnering with Semcop. Semcop is taking the controlling stake in this company. They will have 60% in this company. Our fund too will exit and will continue in this company as a minority shareholder with 40%.
Just talking on the industry, have you seen any pickup in the private equity investment activity in the last 6 months?
I think it's a long video. I'll just move to next one. Idea Cellular. This is my baby when I started, when Tatas were only in Andhra Pradesh. I realized that in this company, entire what is to be done, whether it is to be sold, etc., were discussed. So I brought Tata's, Birlas, and AT&T together. The reason for that was, You had a 10-year license, your prices were lowest in the country, and you cannot recover the capex which you invest in 10 years. Nobody could have recovered. And there were that time Orange and Hutch and Orange. I think Bharti were the number 1, number 2 players. And thereafter I bought Escotel, which are the 5 companies together. Finally, I sold this company to Birla's, Providence, Fidelity, and at 4,500 crores. So this was one of the transactions. Thereafter, person who bought Fidelity and Providence, then nobody made money. So we made 2,700 crores here money. VSNL was another one which was through a government disinvestment. There were a lot of players. Here, now I have limited time, so I'm quickly moving. I defeated Reliance by 5 rupees per share. And it was a 4,400 crore transaction. And it totally changed the landscape. 4,400 crore invested today is close to 50,000 crores. It's per market cap. Various small deals. Hughes deal we had decided to exit, and there was a press release which came. Finally, I felt that it was a wrong decision. I convinced people, and we went ahead after the press release and bought over this company. And this is also done well. A lot of other companies are there, but I think time is less. Incred is one company I will talk about. Bhupinder Singh, if you know, he was one of the top paid Deutsche Bank guy. Somehow met him. He wanted to set an NBFC. In my office, we draw down the NBFC, how it will look like. Just on the board, we started. Today, we are at 6.5x on this investment within the period of 5 years. It's a fintech plus, and I'll talk about one failure also. Using Indian Ayurvedic system, we launched a company in the US for OTC, for stress franchisee. And, it was a very bad investment because US people don't think that, India can bring some sort of product. And it failed miserably. So that was another lesson. Various investment, close to 10,000 invested, today are around 55,000 crores. What drives me? My wife is here, Poonam. My friends and my family, and I'm also a fitness freak. This drives me continuously. I have been a thought leader. I like going to conferences, speaking on various provocative topics. So, but there's a nice video, but we will talk about it later. And
10 to 20.
No, okay. So what I realized is that, if you, in private equity, compared to corporate life, in corporate life, you are in one business, continue in that business, you know everything of that business. When you go to private equity, you look at many businesses, and you learn from various businesses which you can apply in different businesses, which becomes very unique. So you have many bats, while you can use right bat for right time, but you have many bats. So, I like this profession. Thank you so much.
What a wonderful talk. Thank you so much, Girish. I think we were riveted. And of course, we can continue to listen to you. But we have another 3 very good speakers lined up, and the evening is always too short. So we will have chats later on with you. Let me invite our next speaker for tonight, Mr. Milan Naik. After 20 years of being in the corporate world, across consulting and insurance, in 2017, he founded Goals 101. His first entrepreneurial venture, which recently got acquired by M2P FinTech. It's a deep tech enterprise company which uses the power of banking transactions and demographic data to drive personalization, deliver business outcomes, and builds newer monetization models for global banks and payment networks. Milan truly believes that entrepreneurs are and will be the catalyst to change and enable to better sustain living in times to come. He is currently on 5 advisory boards of growth stage global companies. He is passionate about giving back to the entrepreneurial world by sharing his experiences, network, and guiding young entrepreneurs. That apart, he is an avid angel investor. Mr. Naik.
कुछ पाने की हो आस आस कोई अरमा हो जो खास खास आशाएं हर कोशिश में हो बार बार करे दरियाओं को आर पार आशाएं तूफानों को चीर के मंजिलों को छीन ले आशाएं कुछ भी
Good evening, everyone. Oh, the song always gives me goose pimples. It's, I think, बोलते हैं ना कि दुनिया उम्मीद पे कायम है. And it's interesting, whenever I hear this song, and if you remember the movie Iqbal, I think it just brings out the beauty of innocence, the entrepreneurial spirit at grassroots levels, and what India has in terms of potential, right? Brilliant movie, I think, very moving, very touching, very emotional, but what a beautiful, sort of, I would say, execution as far as the movie is concerned. Girish, great talk. I mean, it's going to be difficult for me to match up to that. What my presentation is surely not going to cover is scale, impact, and qualification. I mean, with that qualification, it's going to be very difficult shoes to kind of fit into, but great presentation, Girish, very impressive. I want to first thank the GOAT team. Want to surely thank Suresh, Anil, for reaching out and giving me this opportunity and audience to speak. And it's amazing to see all of you all here on a weekday and paying for it and being here. It's incredible. It's very heartwarming and overwhelming as well. So thank you very much for being here. I'm trying to make this, talk a bit, I would say, fun, a bit insightful. When Suresh said that the brief is going to be largely around, talking about your story, I don't know how many of you all have seen the movie 12th Fail. Hands up. I think I'm going to make a reference to a lot of that movie during the evening, during my talk. It actually is a movie that, for me, by far, one of the best movies that I've ever seen, right? Great job done by Vineeta Chopra. I've researched that movie so much. I can tell you a lot more trivia about it. But the thing is that, you remember that scene where he walks up to and runs to the guy who was turned into an IPS or whatever it is and goes and tells him, teach me and help me go get to that last sort of selection phase. How do I go about doing it? And he just tells him that, okay, fine, you need to sort of articulate yourself and talk about yourself. And he said, this is the easiest topic. I mean, it's so easy to make it happen. And he struggled. And that's exactly, when Suresh said, talk about yourself, it is, and when you sit back, and fortunately we had enough time, but, just to sort of put that into a storyboarding, this is the first time I've done it. Normally you talk shop, we never talk about yourself, but this is a good opportunity for me to articulate and tell a bit more about, the journey we've gone through. I think this picture is very interesting, right? To me, it's a lot about mindset. I think once you have played the journey in your head, anything that comes further up from there is on the outside is just very beautiful. It's a lot more controlled. You know exactly the variables, what you can expect. There could be some surprises, but it just makes the life a lot more beautiful. So I think, journeys are something that, I remember that movie, Bhag Milka Bhag, and I'm going to keep sort of drawing an inspiration to Bollywood and cricket, which is religion for India, right? So I'll keep making reference. And if you see that race that Milka runs, the final race, he's at the starting line, but in his head, he's already run it. It's a very powerful scene. And that's exactly, I think, a lot of people who actually manifest, think about, use the power of the head to say that what this outcome is going to be like, and you kind of do that. So this is just a depiction of, the way probably, beautiful journeys can be. Oops. Okay, I know what's happened. Give me a second, I'm just gonna, it's gonna reboot again. Okay. That's my company, but I'll talk a bit more about it later. Just to start with some humor, a few of you, at least I have, moved from a typical corporate life, can you give us the audio? Yeah. And got into the startup world, and I just found this to be so relevant. Let me just play this, and hopefully you find some humor in this.
यकीन नहीं आता महेश, तू हमारी कंपनी की जॉब छोड़ के अपना स्टार्टअप बसाने जा रहा है।
सर, आप दोनों ने इतने लाड प्यार से मुझे एक्सप्लॉइट किया, ना अप्रेजल, ना छुट्टी, किसी का बोझ नहीं आने दिया सर।
स्टार्टअप के रीति रिवाज में एडजस्ट हो जाएगा ना? वीकेंड्स पे भी काम करना पड़ता है।
वो तो आपके यहाँ भी करना पड़ता था, बस क्रेडिट आप ले जाते थे। आपके वो फ्राइडे नाइट को आई वांट दिस बाय मंडे मॉर्निंग वाले ईमेल्स बहुत याद आएंगे बॉस।
तेरे कैब रिएम्बर्समेंट के जेंटल रिमाइंडर्स कैसे भूलूंगा? कैब की रिएम्बर्समेंट मांगने वाला आज स्टार्टअप की फंडिंग मांगने जा रहा है। कितना बड़ा हो गया है। को-फाउंडर जी, इसका ख्याल रखना।
आप फिक्र न करें सर, इसको कभी एम्प्लॉय की तरह ट्रीट नहीं करेंगे, हमेशा इसको बोर्ड पे बिठा के रखेंगे।
Regards. Regards. Warm regards.
Oh my gosh. I think it's a very interesting video I found. I made a lot of research to figure out, where will I find something which kind of is an icebreaker. But it's a very interesting video that I think came across. I think entrepreneurship, and this is, maybe, like I said, this is a bit more personal journey, talking about self. When you are sort of setting out to start a tech, sort of tech product company, and as a person who's not a guy from, have any technical background, doesn't understand technology much, I'm just more of a business guy. I think a lot of this is probably the, image kind of, in a way, depicts that there's a bit of a leap of faith. And you just jump off the cliff. And I'll tell you a bit more about my transition from the corporate world into the startup world. And it was a bit of a leap of faith. There were multiple triggers. There were multiple things that sort of went into it. I'll probably narrate and talk about it as you go through the conversation. But as they say that, when you sort of jump off the cliff, you already committed yourself, then you figure out what you have to do. So I think, when you start your journey, there is 50% conviction. There is gut. You feel really strong. I'm a man from the gut. I work from here, and that kind of gets me going. And there's confidence that when if shit hits the roof, nothing happens, you still have something you can go back to. So you have that kind of safety net available. But a large part of that for me personally was the excitement of the unknown. That you don't know what you're getting into. How is this going to pan out? But it's fun, right? Because then it's also about a lot about discovery and getting to see different facets of life that you otherwise wouldn't have. So I'm just going to play a video, and I'm going to play a lot of videos while I go through this just to sort of make the point. But this is a video of a company called DoorDash. I don't know if how many of people know about DoorDash or not. Big global firm. And I just want to sort of, play it first, and I'll talk about some of the messages that came out from this. And this is an early stage. They're just starting off, maybe from a garage, as they keep saying it classically.
Hey, I'm Stanley. I'm a Stanford CS major. I did front-end engineering at Facebook. Hey, I'm Andy. I'm also a Stanford CS major, and I did platform engineering at Facebook.
I'm Evan. I was on the founding team of Vivo, the music video service.
And I'm Tony. I was a product editor at Square.
And the four of us came together about 6 months ago to work on software for small business owners. But we didn't have a need at first, so we just went out and talked to all the small business owners we could find. After over 100 interviews, we came across a really interesting problem with small business restaurants in an area like this, Palo Alto.
Yeah, so it turns out restaurants in Palo Alto don't deliver, even though they really want to, but they can't afford it. But their consumers are craving for it, but the places that the consumers love just can't deliver. And we also found out about these delivery drivers who had a ton of spare time, and they all want to earn extra cash during that downtime.
Right, and so that's when we built an initial product, PaloAltoDelivery.com. And how it worked is the customer goes to the website and places an online order that gets automatically sent to the restaurant. And then we, as the dispatchers, with some pretty neat routing and batching algorithms, we're able to send the drivers efficiently to get the orders to the customers at a really fast time.
Yeah, and the four of us actually started off as delivery drivers.
Yeah, so think about it this way. These guys started 2013. DoorDash, just in terms of numbers, at all-time high, was a $65 billion company. I mean, look at the innocence, the where they start from, maybe from a dorm, and that 50% of the unknown. It just keeps them excited, right? So I think sometimes also about this childlike excitement about doing something which is new, different, not from this regular safety net, and also with no fear. So they jump into it and actually start doing it. Today, they're valued at $45 billion. So it's a fairly large, credible company and made a mark for itself. So Zomato, Swiggy are all actually, in a way, sort of from there, right? DoorDash is all about delivery, or door-to-door food delivery. For me, the Eureka moment, and I'll tell you a bit more about, sort of like Vineeta really mentioned that, I've had some stint in the corporate world, spent about 20 years, worked for some really good brands, and I think a lot of credit goes to the stint I spent in the corporate world. They made the investments into me, and I could then deliver to them as well. But it gave me the basic tools and ability to then kind of, in a way, build a professional career, which I'm pretty happy and proud of as well. So, coming from a space where you actually are having the great comfort walls. So my last assignment, I was a country head with a company called Liberty Mutual, US-based insurance company. So effectively, you have a lot of comfort wall that comes along with it. Great salaries, chauffeur-driven cars, business class travel, global traveling, et cetera, et cetera. And suddenly you are starting afresh. So I remember the first trip that I made, and I remember I went to Bangalore, me and my partner, and we landed at the Bangalore airport. This is, literally the first trip, first month into setting up Goals 101. We were sitting over there, actually sort of figuring out, should we do sort of a car to take us to the city, which is basically from any of these kiosks, or should we take a Ola Mini, or should we take that? And we actually took a Mini. So that was a conscious effort we made. And Girish, you talked about some of your investments, the 300 rupee coffee, right? We were very conscious because initially we were bootstrapped. So some of these things in terms of mentally making that shift from having all of that comfort wall to then getting into the space where you consciously have to make that effort, extra effort, to say that you have to move away from that life and actually do it. To me personally, I think I was pleasantly surprised. I was anxious, I was worried, but finally the transition did happen. So that was the Eureka moment where, slowly, steadily the transition started and we kind of, made our venture. Now, where did the idea come in from? So I think one thing we were clear about is that we wanted to operate in the data space. Couple of strengths that we had to ourselves were our ability to sort of, in a way, I would say enterprise sales. So B2B sales was coming naturally to us. Fairly decent connects into the banking world. Hi, Sandeep. So new people around, we could reach out to people, and people who probably, starting off, you need all the support and help from friends over there. So all in all, I think, we get started with that. But we got inspired by this company called Cardlytics, which is basically operated in a similar space, exactly. What Cardlytics did was, if you think about, the entire data pyramid, right? The data pyramid has multiple levels in how each of the brands or industries knows their consumers to what level and to what extent. But if you start sort of assimilating and putting it together, right on top of that pyramid are the banks. If you think about, a bank knows exactly what your income is, how much is your expenses, where are you spending, what is that you're doing, and all of that's really known, right? And most KYC data, so it's the most relevant data, even in terms of demographic profile or whatever it is. He knows your PIN code, where you live, where you work, or et cetera, et cetera. Now, how can one sort of use the power of that transaction and demographic data to kind of, in a way, make conversations with consumers a lot more personalized and contextual? And which is where Cardlytics did a great job. They just went to 2 top banks in the world, Chase and Bank of America, and within a very short span of time, build almost like $120 million business for each of them, which is basically helping them use the power of the data, get brands to participate. So if you think about cards business, and I'll probably talk about what my business does. So that's to introduce you Goals 101. So I'll talk briefly about it. Goals 101, we call ourselves Transaction Behavior Intelligence Platform. We didn't start that way. We were a very service-oriented kind of a business to slowly, steadily learn the tricks of the trade. This was new to us, and in a way start building the technology platform to an extent which is where we are today. So what we do is, if you think about credit cards, all of us have credit cards, we have debit cards, and largely we use these cards for what? For transactions. So at the heart of any card business is transaction, right? So there's a bank side of it, there's a network, which is basically Visa, Master, and of course there's a consumer side of it. Banks' interest from an overall portfolio perspective is to ensure that you transact a lot more. They want a large part of your wallet share. But how do you make that a lot more, how do you get the customer affinity to grow? So what we did is effectively, we have our platform, which at one end talks to banks. It ingests banking transaction and demographic data. At other end, it opens it to merchants. So think about it like a Facebook or a Google. I don't know, some of your entrepreneurs over here would know How do you do SEO optimization to ensure you get the right customers, you build business and get customers in. But this data is the holy grail. What you spend is who you are, literally. Not Facebook and Google, which is more intent. This is what you're spending on. So it's a very, very sort of refined set of data, and get the merchant to participate without even showing anything in a compliant manner. So we build the whole compliant framework. We have a global presence, so effectively we build that. But the net is that how do you sort of do this through automation and get enough and more merchants to now run campaigns which can be hyper-targeted to drive outcomes. So effectively, drive effective outcomes for people. So this is what our core business is, and that's what we do. Over the period of time, again, like I said, just to go down the journey path, we got some really good success. We got a very strong board. We had the ex-MD of Facebook who came and joined our stat board. We had the MD for Oracle who brought the enterprise knowledge to join us as well. Then what else? Sanjay Rishi, who was the global head of payments for Amex from New York, and he was here, of course, and he joined us as well. So we had some really good minds coming on board very soon in our journey. We made a lot of inroads, 10 banks, 3 markets, India, Malaysia, and the UAE. And it was all looking good. So we thought that we are in the making of the next unicorn, but I'll tell you a bit more about what came in the way. This is part of the learning. So, but the thing is that we figured out there's a lot of work on the product side, but I'll come back to that in a bit. Now, if you think about data, right? Today, as they say, data is a new oil, and I love this image. I don't know how many of you knew about that. Reliance is in the business of oil. If you put a mirror image against this, what you get is Geo. It's a transition of an old world legacy company understanding the importance of data and actually transitioning from a brand standpoint into becoming Geo, which is a data business. Financial services, telecom, this, that, they're getting to know you better and using that to build consumer businesses. Just on that point, I can keep talking about data businesses. What do you think Tesla is? Is Tesla an automobile company? So this is a very interesting snippet. I'm sure you would have seen Shark Tank. There's Kevin O'Leary, and
my son was interning at Tesla. Said to me, Dad, why don't you own some Tesla? I worked there as an intern. And I said, I want to short that stock. It's such a joke. It's a car company trading at a ridiculous price. He said, no, you're the joke. You don't understand what Tesla does. I work there. It's not a car company. It's a data company. Every time a car drives a mile, it goes back to the server and it tells the resolution of that road gets better and better and better, because every mile a Tesla drives, it goes into the database of mapping for autonomous cars. And I thought, shit, I didn't know that. He said, no kidding. You have a ton of money. Why don't you buy some of this stock? Because I don't have any money. Just before I went on the air, I took my phone out and I bought a whack of the stock. Then I forgot about it. One day I opened up the thing and I was up 1,000%. So I started selling it. But my cost base is zero. It doesn't matter what happens to Tesla now, I made a ton of money on it.
So interesting, right? The spin on just data and so on and so forth. And of course, all of us would have heard about the FANG economy, which is basically Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Netflix has made it into that, and Google, of course, the biggest of all. So it's interesting, all of these companies have now become the top sort of market cap companies in the world. Way back in 2008, there was only one data company. So clearly what it seems that data is the holy grail, the new oil, and everyone's kind of tending in that direction. Just a part of what I do, of course, apart from what I have in terms of my company Goals 101, set up another consulting company called Infinity Business Partners. And this was coming in from the passion or just the very thing about how can I get associated with the entrepreneurial fraternity? As Vineeta rightly mentioned, I think it drives me. There's a lot I can contribute, a lot I can help with, and it kind of gets my motivation going as well. And helping few of the companies in terms of helping on growth, monetization, fundraise. These are a couple of companies I work with, deep in data, one in the cyber tech space, the other, of course, in the health tech space. So it's very fascinating and can talk about it. In the interest of time, I'll keep moving on. I think all of us have a story, and we all know that our formative years have a lot to, in a way, contribute to who we are today. Some of that kind of we take for granted, we don't realize it, but as you mature up, you start appreciating that some of those triggers or some of these deep-rooted philosophies or experiences kind of play a long way. For me, I mean, I won't read that, that's very obvious. But the reality is that, you know, I come from a very humble background, from a background where we had an opportunity to have the best of the world and got to a stage where we almost, in a way, you know, getting rid of our assets to just make sure that we have our next meal sorted or whatever it is. So I think some of those things and the journey that you take in those years can, in a way, shape the way you are. And you start realizing that only much later in your life. Is the fact that maybe that hustle, maybe the hunger, maybe the need to be sort of recognized becomes important, and you end up taking certain decisions. But these are some of the triggers to me which actually sort of, in a way, also, when I think about it now, 7 years later, in the benefit of hindsight, it kind of helps you. I don't know how many people can recognize over here. This is Yashasvi Jaiswal, right? Think about this guy, and I'm going to kind of just run this small video just to make a point about how formative years can help you shape up and actually sort of, in a way, deliver exceptional and amazing results. He used to sell pani puri on the roads. So there is, of course, a lot of video on him, a lot of content around him. There's, of course, sports, which is a common link between me and him, but in reality, beyond that as well, I think if you just hear about his stories, his parents literally gave up on him because he was so passionate about his subject and what he wanted to do that they said, okay, just you got to get out of this house and just do what you want. He went and did odd jobs, lived in a tent, did whatever he had to do, but stayed focused on what he had to achieve. And we see the results now. So I think, you know, it's incredible what ordinary people can do. And I'll come to that point in a bit as well. Sports for me, I think, is an integral part of who I am. A part of my formative years was fully dedicated to cricket. I was part of the top 20 fast bowlers of India, played with a lot of people. That image is a bit old, but I just wanted to sort of show you. Part of the academy, we had people like Salil Ankola, Abhi Kurulla, who played for India, Paras Mamre, who's currently the bowling coach of India, and so on and so forth. So we had a very, very good group. There's an interesting anecdote, and the gentleman on the extreme left, or my extreme left, is a gentleman by the name Frank Tyson. I don't know how many of people know Frank Tyson in this group. Well, he used to be, at one point, of course, Australian cricketer, but one point in time called Typhoon Tyson. He used to be like lethal pace, typical Australian, rugged, and we were all these little lanky Indian boys. His forearms were size of our thighs. Like he was that big. And his only exercise used to be, he said, I should go and cut logs. That's my exercise. He came in and completely changed things to an extent in terms of, you know, the relevance of fitness, well-being, mental fitness. But there's one interesting story that I just want to narrate. And this is about coaching in India, right? We had people like Balwinder Singh Sandhu coaching us, but there was no science behind why things were happening. So I remember at one point in time, we were asking him questions, why is the ball swinging? What's really happening? So Indian coach bolta tha कि अगर left में रखेंगे तो बाहर जाएगा, right में रखेंगे तो अंदर जाएगा. I mean, that's it. That's the only technical input to that. And we keep doing it, but still अंदर जाता था. बाहर रखेंगे तो बाहर अंदर जाता था. So why is that happening? So Frank Tyson, of course, because he comes from science, he starts bringing the relevance of what's really happening over there. And he started talking to us the principle of aerodynamics. In this group of 20, 18 can't even understand and spell aerodynamics. I mean, they're all people from very humble backgrounds. And he's trying to explain his own genuine way. But it's a very cute, funny moment that I have. I still think about it. We've many times talk about it as friends. Interesting part of our journey as well. But I think sports somewhere brings in so much. And I'm sure you would have seen the movie Invictus and how Nelson Mandela used sports as a way to anchor a nation and move forward as well. So it's very powerful. And for me, a big part of what I do. Again, I think, we keep talking about finding inspiration. And when we think about finding inspiration, and this is something that I do very often, is the fact that you start looking at people who have accomplished a lot. I think in reality, you find inspiration in every walk of life. You see it in people, common people, You can see it in a maid sometimes. They work really, really hard to just only bread earner in the family, trying to support a family of 6, doing multiple things to nature as well, right? There's, when you think about even, which is, so it was a king, it's not coming to my hand, the spider and the, which is that story? King, yeah, there it is, yeah, and the spider, right? I mean, just the inspiration from what he saw from the spider doing and things like that. So I think it's about recognizing it, it's appreciating it, but you find inspiration in every walk of life. And I'm sure you would have seen this archer. So, I mean, you could look at the calmness on her face, the confidence, the fact that she doesn't have 2 arms does not even bother her. She's just focused on what she wants to achieve. And to me, some of these things are truly inspiring to see, the lives of a common man and the impact that they're creating as well. Again, interest of time. Sorry, I might bring up more personal details. This is about my brother. So that's me and my brother. Again, like I told you, we come from some very, very interesting times in our formative years where we struggled in many ways to even sort of find our regular basic needs of life to an extent where now, he did what he had to do, go to the US, support the family and do his bit from that standpoint. And, the thing is that, again, maybe something within which was deep-rooted. Today now, of course, he's one of the top 25 angel investors in the US. So he's been rated. I mean, he's a venture capitalist. DoorDash is one of his investment, by the way. So, so things like that. So he's quite very, very avid, but I think comes from a background. But to me, I think, again, inspiration. When you think about inspiration, you don't sometimes have to look too far. Sometimes it could be so close to you, and you just see how people have kind of taken up challenges in life and build what they did as well. I mean, I can go on. This is another subject for me. my dog Milo. Right? I call him Master Shifu because I learn a lot from him. If you think about, how many pet parents over here? I don't know. Yeah, quite a few of them. And you will appreciate the point I'm trying to make over here. Pure, unadulterated love, complete selflessness, completely giving. And some of these things, when you start seeing the softer aspects of life and importance, what's important? It's just important to have a great time with the family, great time with people, and that's all it is. So I think, some of these, again, become inspiring. I know my wife is taking that photo. She's going to send it to the family, wondering how come Milo showed up here. And I think, I'll tell you why this is important, right? Especially, imagine I was at age of 42, doing exceptionally well in the corporate life, great income, like I said, all the comfort walls. And when you were sort of, in a way, trying to transition in, you need the family's buy-in. I mean, literally, we did not have a single penny coming into the house for 3 years because we were bootstrapped, we were trying to do it, and it's tough. It's tough when you don't have cash flows. You understand the importance of cash flows from, month-end salary getting credited to nothing happening now is a tough journey. And that means a lot of sacrifices, not only what you do, but sacrifice the family as well. And I think some of that really, really helps and is much appreciated here. So yeah, many other details to it, but I think truly appreciative of having a supportive family when I wanted to go do what I wanted to do. So my key takeaways, just in terms of my learnings, may not touched every bit, not that I've ticked all the boxes. I may have missed boxes, and I know some of these as well. But it is just takeaways from the journey that I've literally spent over the last 7 years, which is a lot of into the unknown. This is a video that I'm sure all of us will love. It's a beautiful, powerful video, but you'll love it. Let me just play it.
But just an amazing atmosphere here. You can hear the crowd screaming for their favourite, the Little Master. Everyone wants him to do well. But the atmosphere is unbelievable and electric here.
bowling attack, Pakistan bowling attack at that time. Peak. That's brutal. My takeaway of this is the fact that it's all a mindset game. You may be exceptionally talented, you may have the resources, you may have the tools, whatever it is, finally it's a game of the mind, and this clearly sort of depicts some of that. From a learning perspective, and I can keep going on, I'm already sort of curtailed on time. I'm a very optimistic person, so positive thinking very comes naturally to me. I just love being positive about things. I trust people at large. I think that gratitude is increasingly becoming important. I think a lot of people have supported and helped me in this journey, especially when you are nobody, just starting off, you don't have a brand behind you, you're creating a brand. It's largely you yourself, and a lot of people to be thanking for, and I think the power of gratitude is so important. The other is power of asking. I think, typically when you come from a position of abundance, like a corporate life literally, you feel ashamed to ask. Can I get your business? Or can I do this? Can you do this for me as a simple favor? And I think there's a power of asking. I think one should not feel so ashamed about things. Just ask, and we'll figure it. Mostly people sort of give in for it. Resilience, super important when you start going through it. We went through a COVID phase. We're building our enterprise business. We almost came to a stage of existential crisis. Funds drying up, team not knowing, motivations going down, clients not picking up phones, they're doing what they had to do, et cetera, so all of that. A big thing is play to your strengths. So while you play to your strengths, make sure you cover your weaknesses, and I'll talk about that from a learning standpoint. Visualize, manifest, very, very important. And I think at the heart of it, as you start bringing people on board, be responsible for them. It's not just them, it's their families, and make sure that they also sort of in a way benefit in the long run, for sure. This business is all about human-to-human connect. This is very important. And hence, a couple of takeaways. I'll not run the videos. There are some nice, interesting videos. The part of the network, I think one of the things I've learned really well is the fact that invest into relationships and don't expect anything from them. When you do that without any ulterior motive, I think they repay with a lot more interest, and they sort of support you in many ways. So the power of network really kicks in, very, very helpful. Humble, and there are some very interesting anecdotes I can talk about in terms of humility and humbleness. 1997, when Amazon went public, there was an interview that he conducted of Jeff Bezos, and he was riding his Honda Accord or Honda Civic or something like that. And that point in time when it went public, the market cap of Amazon was about $30 billion. And they sort of did a back of the envelope calculation. His net worth was about 9 to 10 billion. And he was driving this. And all he said is that, I don't need it. I need to go from point A to point B, and I think this Honda does a great job of that. So be humble, hire right. I'll not talk about it. It's a beautiful interview, but let me move on from Steve Jobs. And express freely. I think one of the things we don't do enough is just express freely about gratitude, thanking people, and sort of acknowledging for all that they've done, and very important as well. Some of the advices, this is in terms of, when I talk to young entrepreneurs, I think a lot about is enjoy the journey. Don't make this too serious. Don't make it too complicated. Don't think it's like going to be something, hold your breath for. And I'm going to run this one video, last, if I may again. And this is about Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer.
Hello? Hey, Bill, what's up?
What's up?
Hey, what's up?
What's up?
What's
up?
I'm over here at the park. work. I thought today was a play day. Where are you, man? I'll be there in 10 minutes. All right. Great. All right. Look busy. Don't sign anything while I'm gone. Whenever Steve and I can, we slip away from the office and talk about the future of technology. Just getting away from our desk makes us feel like kids again. Hey, play day, play day. Hey. Whoa. Push me.
Anyway, this can go. It's a very cute video, but the thing is that, don't take it too seriously. Really have a great time, have a lot of fun. Ensure that, your team has a great fun on the way as well when you enjoy the journey. Discipline, important. I mean, there's an interesting thing about motivation and discipline. Motivation can drop very fast. Discipline will get you much faster and much ahead. And start early. I mean, this is, again, something from a standpoint. My big learning is the fact that two people who were business people started a venture in tech, and one big, I would say, gap that we saw very early in our journey was that we didn't have a tech co-founder, but we solved for that later on. And exercise your choices and enjoy it. And get started soon. Yeah, I mean, I'm just rattling the last one. I won't play this video. It's basically more talking about the future of India. Yeah, and that's it. I think this is the last slide I want to really say. I think, the entrepreneurial spirit is here to stay. India has incredible potential. There's so much more happening. The next decade is for Indians and is for India. And this is a very powerful slide. Just all Indians who become CEOs of large global corporations, you put that together, the entire market cap of those companies is $7 trillion, much larger than the economy itself. So I think we are here to sort of, in a way, rule the roost. Great opportunities ahead. So I think keep the entrepreneurial spirit on. I think a lot of exciting times ahead for India. Thank you.
Milan, what an audiovisual feast it was. Thank you so much. It was a tour de force. Thank you. Loads of lovely learnings. And we are going to continue on that spirit of entrepreneurship. And I'm bringing to you a very young entrepreneur. He's an Ironman, triathlete, an entrepreneur, an educator, and a farmer. His name is Saurabh Mundra, everybody. He sold his first company at the age of 22, okay? He really started early, Milan, and has gone on to start multiple businesses. He went to Carnegie Mellon and worked at Merrill Lynch in New York. When he came back to India, he started an edtech company, which was acquired by Byju's, and he ran their engineering team from 2015 to 17. Then he left Bangalore, and he and his wife set up a hydroponic farm in Talegaon, which markets produce in Mumbai under the brand Saladible. Apart from being a serial entrepreneur and taking the less traveled path, he participates in endurance events like marathons or triathlons. He has completed multiple Ironman triathlons. And he's now working towards setting up an alternative school, which is very intriguing. Let's hear it from him. Saurabh Mundra, everybody.
Thank you for that. I can't believe I had to wait for Girish to come up here until I realized we both went to CMU. I'm an extremely distinguished company. I totally signed up for this without knowing the format. Yeah. The only time I thought my face would appear on multiple slides in a PowerPoint would be in a eulogy, but here I am, of course. So I was semi-retired until I decided to set up a school that is not a school, a free from bureaucracy educational institution where we teach the skills that we deem important with the infrastructure, sports, and co-curricular setup of a school. Why is it not a school? If you register as a school, you're at the mercy of the government when it comes to curriculum. Throw away a lot of things that require rote memory, let kids be creative, and let teachers be more of a mentor than a preacher. And at least that's what we're trying to do. The journey up to this point has been interesting. I think the best way to describe myself or my life is in two parallels: an athlete and an entrepreneur with undiagnosed ADHD. I was fortunate, my parents always pushed me to pursue a sport. I swam competitively growing up, and I was lucky to represent India at the Asia Pacific Championship at the age of 13. And win a bronze medal as a part of the relay team. What I will not tell you is that only 3 teams showed up for that relay. And the girls' team was pissed because 4 teams showed up in their event. I also played football for my school. Here I am giving a photographer content back in the day, before content was a thing. What I won't tell you is that we were a Division 3 team and the fellow I'm towering over was about 3 years younger than me. But hey, it makes for good content. I did my first half marathon at the age of 25. Not because I signed up for it, but because my 26-year-old roommate in New York decided to get chickenpox at a ripe old age of 26. I had all of 5 days to train for it, and it was the Sunday after St. Patrick's Day, the patron saint of drinking. I've done a few half marathons since, including one dressed up as this. So 26241 looks like he wants to have rabbit soup for dinner. I signed up to do my first triathlon 10 years ago. It was an Olympic distance triathlon, and it was 3 days before I was to get married. It was the first Goa triathlon that they had hosted. I was supposed to do just a swim as a part of a relay team from the club, but the other guys bailed. So, bought a bike, parked it in the house, and I showed up for the race. I did manage to finish that race. What I won't tell you is I fell off the bicycle. Luckily, my wife, fiance back then, she's a doctor, and our romantic memory from Goa is her giving me a tetanus shot and taping me up. I've since done a bunch of triathlons, including 2 full Ironmans. So this is pre-marriage, post-Goa. I had to put that up there. So an Ironman's a 3.8 kilometer swim, a 180 kilometer bike ride, and a 42 kilometer run. It's a humbling experience. You can think you are the hot shit, but that race will bring you to your knees. I think every athlete that goes through it goes through an existential crisis somewhere between training and the race, questioning all their life choices that have led them to that point. The entrepreneur in me has put on a different hat every few years. Maybe I despise the thought of a career so much that I switch it out ever so often. My first business was selling bespoke CDs in the 6th grade. It was the late 90s. I got myself one of the first CD writers in town and sold CDs to 5th graders. It was an extremely lucrative operation back in the day. I then got involved in an unsuccessful t-shirt business. So I proceeded to wear my own stock for the next year. The first real business was our senior college project at Carnegie Mellon. It was called BibMe, and we had it incorporated and kept it running even after we graduated college. I was in New York working in finance at Merrill Lynch, and I got a call from one of our competitors that they would like to buy us for $30,000. Not liking the low ball, I politely told them to go bleep themselves. I successfully negotiated a sale for $500,000 to the same chaps a year later. So I quit my job on Wall Street almost 5 years later because I was bored. And New York, with all its charm, didn't seem like a tempting place to be in for the long run. I started an edtech company with a friend from CMU, and we sold it to Byju's in 2015. This would be my second take at figuring out a negotiation. They jammed us both on the way in and on the way out. We sold for all cash, all equity, no cash. And we sold that equity in 2019. We looked extremely stupid for about a year and a half. But we look like geniuses now, so yay. Looking back, had it not been for the pandemic, their goose would have been cooked a lot sooner. I guess there's a learning there, right? You can only make the decision at the time with the information you have at hand. Hindsight is always 20/20. We left Bangalore because of the traffic in 2018 and set up a hydroponic farm close to Talegaon. That's my wife. She's a fantastic partner in business and life. So great produce, fantastic learning experience, terrible business idea. And the reason why it's a terrible business idea is what management students would call a terrible ROTI, return on time invested, right? You may make fantastic returns, but it's just not worth the headache. We still run that business. The wife and I left Bombay in 2021 and moved to Pune. I guess I'm not great at staying put, literally and figuratively. We started working on this alternative school a couple of months ago, and we're starting with our first cohort in June of 2024. I'm fairly certain this will go down in the bucket of terrible business ideas, but something that needs to be done. Education is something I'm very passionate about. If it manages to make money, that's a bonus. As long as I don't set mountains of money on fire, I think I can live with it. We should all appreciate how lucky we are. Every entrepreneur will tell you, to be successful, you need to be lucky. Whether it's the luck of the draw at birth, or the people around you, or the circumstances you never had any control over. You have one life, don't make it a collection game. In the words of the philosopher Gully Boy, "Tu nanga hi to aaya hai, kya ghanta lekar jayega." Thank you.
I mean, this is just what we needed, right? Yeah, a big round of applause for Mr. Mundra. And we really wish you all the best for that school. Really, really. What fun. Thank you so much. Oh, wow. You know what, guys? We have saved the best for the last. Presenting to you Dr. Falguni Shah, the leading dermatologist and cosmetologist in Mumbai. You all know her because she is the doctor for many of us from Radiant Skin Clinic. Several celebrities go to her on a regular basis. She has strived to bring science to the world of beauty and has taken specialized training in lasers, advanced cosmetic procedures from leading dermatologists and cosmetologists from all around the world. She uses specialized skin treatment technology and is a member of various national and international bodies. She goes to speak as a key opinion leader in various national and international conferences. And and she's also an entrepreneur. So we have a theme going on here. She has formulated skincare products under the brand name Radiance by Dr. Falguni, and she's soon to launch her D2C channel to make these products available to a wider audience. For us, for me, she's very special because she's a role model. The first woman speaker at Growth Talks. Now, really, 8th of March, Women's Day is just around the corner, and I really think that our country needs more role models, and she's definitely one. I look up to her. Many of us I know who do that. So I am just welcoming her again with a big round of applause.
People, I like this song. Play it a little bit more. That's it, I'm just joking. Okay, good evening, everyone. And the first proof that I am a woman or a girl is I follow the theme. So I'm going to talk about my life, the fascinating journey, the anecdotes, and the impact, the three sects. And what is it that makes this different when a woman is talking? Women in the house, tell me this. We add a lot of emotion, and we tell you the journey the way it is. Let me start from the beginning. Every journey, every story, and this is only about my story. I have nothing more to say today. Let me start from the beginning. The beginning is your school life. And for everyone out here, that is what has formed you. I can say I come from a very, very modest background. I was in a middle class upbringing. My mother was a scientist with TIFR, that is Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, and then she retired as the head of the chemistry department in Mitibai College. My father was a humble medical representative, but my hero and the one who put me on this path. But a very strong education background, and I didn't think I missed anything because somehow studying came very natural to me. I was in a convent school, and I don't think I have got a second rank ever. I always stood first from nursery till class 10th. And it was really, really, really very easy for me. So because like I said, I was a born student. And being from a convent school, my first thing was, my first so-called tryst with defeat or so-called tryst with some bad news happened when I was in class 10th. Because when we were in a convent school, I don't know how many of you here are from convents, when we were in class 10th, there was something called a merit list. Like your school, you have a merit list in the University of Bombay. Now, most of these merit listers were from vernacular medium. Why? Because vernacular medium has only two languages. Their first language is their mother tongue, and the second language is the language which they take, which happens to be English. But when you come from a convent school, we have three languages. Your first language is English, your second language is Hindi, and the third language is compulsorily Marathi because you are from Maharashtra. Now what happens is when you have three languages, your overall score is always going to be less than that of a vernacular medium school. So a thing like a merit list never existed for a convent student. And as I was progressing when I was in class 9th, I thought, why can't I see my picture in the newspaper? Because that's where the merit list was published. But of course, nobody had ever got it. So I went on studying in class 10th, and you will not believe it. Nowadays, parents have a complaint that kids don't study. My parents actually had a complaint that she studies so much. I mean, let's visit a psychologist. I mean, actually, my parents were deciding that, how do we do this? Why doesn't she just give up her textbooks? But it didn't happen. And then my class 10th results came. And in class 10th, those times, the results were given in the newspaper. You know, they had a press, and so people used to get it from there. And so my dad was really eager because some amount of hope building to sabka hi ho gaya tha ghar mein. And when the results came, he just called up and said, oh yeah, she's done well, she got 82%. And I was like, really? 82%? And to the point that I decided that if I don't get into the merit list, please don't judge me for this. I thought I'm going to go and commit suicide. So what I did was I climbed up onto my building terrace. And by that time, my father called back again and said, अब तो मुझे result ही नहीं दिख रहा है. पहले तो 82% था, now I just can't find the result. And that's when you realize that if you're a merit lister, your result is not given in the press, it's sent to school. So I was the first merit lister for a convent school. I stood 13th in the merit list. And I realized that time that if you get some bad news, just wait for some time. You don't know, it may just convert to good. So that was my first learning lesson as a school child. So that is my inspiration. They just joked that it was student of the decade because it was the first merit list. And my second inspiration after my parents was this board. I used to walk to school every day. And while I was walking to school, there was this board over there which said Dr. Rekha Sheth. I used to watch it every day. And I used to feel, what would it be like to be Dr. Falguni Shah? And what would it be like to have a board like that? I used to literally, it was from first to class 10th. And then it happened what I wanted to. So once school was over, getting into medical school was not really a big challenge. And then I would not talk about medical college much because it is a difficult profession. We don't really want to harp on it. Those times were tough. They were really tough. But you get through your MBBS and then you get into your post-graduation. My second time when I felt that I've got a bad news is when, in those days, based on your third MBBS exams, we used to get a post-graduation. So as per that, I always wanted to be a gynecologist. But when those results came, I was not getting into gynecology, and guess what? I was getting dermatology. I was like, no way, who becomes a skin specialist? What's there in skin? It's just an organ. I do want to do a real thing. I want to see blood. I want to, help people have babies. I want that happiness. And I have a very, very close friend of mine who's in the room today, last there, Dr. Shailesh Pandey. We've studied together. And he came up to me and said, look, I don't see you as a gynecologist. I think you're a better dermatologist. And I took the leap of faith because he said so. And one thing that my father had always told me is, try trusting people. Most people are good. It is only when you are bad that someone turns bad to you. So I trusted, I took the leap of faith, and I got into dermatology, and so life continued. The curriculum of dermatology went ahead, and when I was finishing it, as usual, I had done very good in my exams. And then came the time when there was an external viva. And what happens in viva is we have external examiners who come to bajao you. So what they do is someone comes from another college to your college and they see to it that you don't top that list. So I had an external examiner from JJ and he came and they had already decided probably back then that we are going to bajao the student. And of course, that's where a little bit of, what can I say, if you are a little better dressed as a girl, you are targeted. Because our medical colleges are such where you're supposed to look a certain way, you're supposed to have oil in your hair, and you're supposed to wear glasses. And if you don't do that, maybe you're not such a good student. So we were also fighting prejudices. Of course, a lot has changed now, and I think it's very, very different now. But those times, we were fighting those prejudices. So when my viva got over, I was not even sure I would pass, forget top, because, yeah, shit happened. And then when I got out of my viva door, what happened is, you remember that board I had seen over here in school? Yes. Dr. Rekha Sheth herself was there with the JJ examiner, and they were sitting. And then when I finished my viva, when I came out, she came and said, would you like to join me? I thought it was unreal, that means maybe I had not done so bad. And he says, don't worry, you're going to pass, but would you like to join me? And so the next day, I went to her clinic, which was in Cherney Road, and I joined her, and guessed what she did? She asked me to go and sit in this clinic, which was in Parlour. And life came a full circle. So what happened is, I went and joined her, and I took care of her Parlour clinic. And I couldn't believe it. This was the building which I used to see every single day when I used to go to school. So again, that part of bad also became good. And then it progressed, and I have a picture with her, my mentor. I think she taught me everything I knew that was to be taught in school and in dermatology, and I had to have a picture here. She passed away in 2019, unfortunately. However, so I joined her, and then she also had I think those days knowledge was not so easily available. It was not a Google and internet thing where you press a finger and things are there. It was where you had to read from textbooks and reference books. And she had a lovely library and reference books were very, very expensive. And remember, I came from a very middle-class background. So those books were not really available to us. And in her library, I could sit and read. And also that was the time when we used to take our own biopsies and we used to read the slides. So that working under her opened a whole new aspect of skin where I was not just looking at skin as a, as somebody's skin and treating it, but I was also reading it under the microscope. And I realized that the skin bears the brunt of so many expectations. Expectations of your body as an organ and expectations of the world at large with their eyes. So it's an external organ which has to function and also look good. Not like another organ like a heart or a lung which just has to function, and you don't really know what your lung looks like, but you definitely know what your skin looks like. And so I realized way then that maybe gynecology would have been great. You were going to watch people give birth to babies, but skin is going to give you dignity back. One scar less on the face did raise people's self-esteem. And I've seen multiple cases where looking better has made people even feel better. It's not just, and then beauty was not just skin deep anymore. But then when I continued working with Dr. Sheth, there came a time when we both literally fell in love with each other. It was like she loved me so much and I loved her back, and I thought this was my life. And sometime later, I think a year later, she asked me if I could get into partnership with her. Well, seemed like a good thing because there was a lot of money involved and everything. But when I went back home that day, I realized that something was not right. And that thing which was not right was I had started mirroring her prescriptions. I was writing down what she was writing down for her patients, and I was seeing patients from the way she was seeing. And I think that's not what I wanted, remember? I wanted my own name and I wanted the own board. So that's when my journey started as a proprietor. I said, no more partnerships, it's time to quit. And when I quit, then I started my own practice in something which was called a polyclinic. I don't know if you all know what's a polyclinic, where there is a large place where there are multiple rooms, and you take one room and you just pay the rent. I had 0 cents of money, and I had no money. But then a polyclinic was something where you pay the rent at the end of the month. And I jumped in without really knowing that how am I going to get it? But it happened, and patients started coming. I started paying my rent. So no surprises there. Life went fine. Now in this polyclinic, there were multiple other doctors who started with me. And for some reason, they did not do well. Rather, that place did not serve them well. But I was doing well. So gradually, people started leaving from that polyclinic. And this whole big place, I was there alone, and there was the owner, who was an uncle of 60 years of age, and a receptionist. I did not realize that the uncle was a pervert, and he would come into my room very often to just show me his skin. And that's when I realized that the place is not working for multiple reasons. And also when everybody left, and when he realized that things are not happening the way he wanted, he came and one day told me, he gave me a month's notice and said, we're going to shut down this place. I had a patient bank of 500, which was really big for me at that time. And when you shut down the place, now what am I going to do? And guess what had happened? In that much time, I had bought a car with my savings. Any guesses which that car would be? I'm sure some people may just know. No? I'm a Shah Rukh Khan fan, guys. Come on. Yeah. So he was in the Santro ad, and when I had made some money, what I'd done was gone and bought a Santro car. And I got into that car, and I said, let's do a recce of that place. And I started driving around that area. And just at Juhu Versova Link Road, I saw a building which said to let. And I entered that building, and there was a ground floor to let. And I said, is this place for rent? He said, yeah, but it's a residential property. Little did I know that you cannot start a clinic in a residential property. But I went ahead. The rent for that was 26,000 rupees. I did not know how to pay 26,000 rupees, but since I did not know that to set an aesthetic practice, you require location, ambience, funds, patience, and talent, all I had was talent. So I said, I didn't know this graph, right? Because that's the way it was. And I got that place, and things started going. Once I started my own practice, I also realized that it's not going to work unless and until I have some technology. And technology was something which would have aided my practice. And that's when I started investing into machines and got into this whole world of understanding that you don't need money of your own every time to succeed. You can approach a bank. Mr. Batra, are you listening? So you could approach a bank and take a loan and start paying your EMIs. And I did that. I mean, I started buying my machines and things started going ahead. The next thing which happened is I went really, really enthusiastic because things were doing well for me. In 2005, we had the Bombay floods. And what happened is that time I had bought my first very, very expensive machine. For me, it was really expensive, 36 lakh. And I got it a month later. When I went back to my clinic, the machine was floating in water. And I had no clue that one needs to take insurances, one needs to do something about it, and I was paying EMIs. But I also knew that to pay an EMI that large, I need to buy another machine that expensive. So what I did was I went and got a similar laser in the next 1 month. So I was paying the EMIs for 2 lasers while using only one. But it paid off as well. And I realized that sometimes you need to take the bigger leap and you need to get over your fears and just move ahead. And so it happened that I started, my world of lasers opened up, and today I have around 14 lasers in my clinic, which could be the only clinic to have so many lasers under one roof. And all my lasers are also US FDA approved and patented technology, which makes a big difference when you're giving results to your patients. And then, as things went on, 2006, I got married. My dad had kept 3 check boxes for me before I get married. He had said, 1, you will have your post-graduation degree. 2, you will start your own practice and you will have your own clinic. And 3rd, you will be financially independent. So all these 3 boxes were ticked, and I thought, yes. And remember, I was watching Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge from 1995. This is something which I always want to tell you all. It was released in 1995. Those were my MBBS days. And every time I used to feel low and dejected, I would go and watch some part of that film. And the film ran its course, I think, just for me. Because every time I had an MD exam or every time I had any kind of exam to give, I would go and watch that movie for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And the movie played till I got over most of my stresses in life. And also by 2006 was the time when I had met my Raj stroke Rahul, and I got married. And like everything in life, I also delivered in the first year of my marriage. So when my daughter was supposed to be born in the month of January, so I had planned it that post her birth, I would take a break for 2 months. But she was born a month early, and all my appointments were booked for that month of December. So in spite of having a C-section, and remember, I was paying EMIs without realizing how much I'm investing into. And she was born in the month of December 16th, and when she was 7, she was 7 days old with just my C-section stitches out. I think date 10th it was. I used to carry her with me, go to my clinic, and see patients. So the only break I had in my life till date were those 10 days. And I realized that being a mother was not going to stop me from being myself. And I think she has watched me. And one thing I want to tell all the women in this room, that I have seen it very closely, that your children don't listen to you, your children watch you. So when they watch you, they know what to do. So I hope that being a woman doesn't stop her from doing what she wants. Now, why I had kept that picture, I was discussing this with Vineeta, that is it different for a woman and a man as an entrepreneur? Well, the journey is the same, the time taken is the same, but the path is a little bit more difficult. In this whole journey, when I was buying lasers, what used to happen is, most of these laser people, they have deals, because those days we used to not have the company directly into our country. We would have their distributors. So the distributors had a different rate they wanted to give different people. So I had so many male colleagues would go out on a drink with these guys. And for a woman to say that, okay, come, Mr. Meswani, let's go for a drink, was you were judged even morally. So we had to I think I ended up paying at least 2-3 lakhs more per device, till I realized that there is a very, very simple way out of this. I said, oh, I have no money, I'm married a rich man, and all this money is my husband, so the dealings will be made by the husband. So now I'm at that stage where most of the people in my laser companies believe, उसने ना बड़े एक rich इंसान से शादी किया है, तो लेकिन वो funds वो allot करता है. So every time I decide on a technology, I decide the price in my mind, then I call Devesh and say, Devesh, this is the price. You please tell him this is all you can give me. and it works. So you have to give your financial brain also to the male, as per the male community. So this is a struggle, but trust me, women, it's hardly anything for what you get in return, because that's the way it is. So that's been my journey, and it's been going on. And then when did I start my first product? 2016 was a very, very decisive year for me. For most of the country, yes, Kevin, it was demonetization and also GST. All came together, so small people and small businesses like us really, really, really suffered. Because what happened is they put dermatologists also under GST. And they had stopped the cash coming in, which was the luxury industry, and they used to pay us by that. So 2016 was a time where suddenly post November 8th, we had 0 appointments on our register for the next 2 months, because big procedures stopped happening, but we were still continuing to pay our EMIs. And something really not so good happened during that phase. This is something which is an incident which actually has been the life-changing incident in my life. I had a politician, and by this time, by 2016, I was doing pretty well in my practice. I mean, the 2 things that happened, one is, yes, I think I was doing well, and second is the TV industry had opened up. So almost every TV actor, I will just give you their names in the sense they were not known as actors, they were known as Tulsi Bhabis and Parvati Bhabis. All of them were in your clinic, and it was a good time. But yeah, so clinic was doing pretty well, so I had invested in more lasers than what I needed. And this politician used to come to me. He was from Rajasthan. I will not give you his name. He had a younger woman whom he was keeping in Mumbai. She was 23 years of age. And he used to come with that woman to my clinic. And post demonetization, again they came, and this girl, I will not call her woman, 23-year-old, had some acne on her face. Now, in this due time, before this thing happened, I used to make this lotion, which was called acne lotion. Now, acne lotion was something which is there in our textbooks, where you have resorcinol, you have sulfur, you have calamine, you have zinc oxide. You put it into a bottle, and you dispense it in plastic bottles. We used to give it in our pharmacy even when we were doing our post-graduation. My father, who was a medical representative, used to take me to Dawa Bazaar, which was in Princess Street, because he believed that I needed to see the world of drugs as well when I'm getting into medicine. So I used to go to Princess Street. We used to buy jerry cans of zinc oxide, sulfur, resorcinol. I had a small pharmacist in Dadar. He used to mix it for me. We used to dispense it in bottles. And this was probably, I have my assistants in the room, and I think they know how important this acne lotion was, because people used to come and take bottles of that to put it on your face. So this politician who had come with his young girlfriend, we gave the acne lotion to him as well. And after demonetization, he came to my clinic and said, I want to pay you in only 1,000 rupee notes. And we said, I'm sorry, we have stopped accepting them. And he had started these things, because mine is an all-women organization. We have only women who work in my clinic. And he came and then started asking those funny questions that, अच्छा, आपने 1,000 रुपया consulting का लिया है, ये 1,000 रुपये में और क्या-क्या करोगे आप हमारे लिए? And that's when we realized that this is the bad guy. So we refused to get him into a clinic, and after some time, when he was harassing my receptionist too much, I came out, I took the acne lotion, I poured it in the basin for him, and I said, get out. We are not going to treat you henceforth, and we are not going to give you any refund, and that was that. I didn't know that I have hurt the sentiments of a male ego of a Rajasthani politician. I had no clue. I was hit by demonetization, and end of December, I had this FDA raid which happened in my clinic. And the FDA guys would come and sit in my clinic all day. They would come in the morning at 10 o'clock. They would sit there as if they own my clinic, these 2 burly, ugly-looking men, and they would ask for money. And what they would do means they would ask in different ways, कि Doctor, आज 10,000 का छुट्टा दे दो. Doctor, आज 20,000 का छुट्टा दे दो. It went on, and it was pathetic. I used to go home, I used to break down. I didn't know what to do. And we used to go to these FDA offices, Devesh and me, and that's when I started realizing the way FDA runs. He was actually helping me for my long-term venture. I realized that there is a drug license. I realized that there is a cosmetic license. I realized how to get these licenses. I understood what to do to get you on the manufacturer's list. But while this was happening, we had to shed in a lot of money. Remember, we didn't have cash that time. It was demonetized, but the FDA guy wanted cash. So we were somehow arranging for it, giving. Somehow arranging for it, giving. And then finally, 7th February, they gave me a clean chit from FDA saying that, yes, we are sorry about this and whatever, because they had probably, they got the money that they wanted. But it didn't end there, because remember, I had not hurt somebody's pocket, I had hurt somebody's ego. So 5th of March, I get a big letter from MMC, the Maharashtra Medical Council, which said that we will debar your license unless and because we have realized that you're giving some spurious liquid in a plastic bottle. And then we showed the MMC the FDA letter that we have got a clearance from them, but that's when he realized that I need a lawyer. This is not my job anymore. And we met a lawyer. And then the lawyer told me that, doctor, you are so funny. Sometimes nothing wins like truth does. So write back to the MMC and tell them exactly what happened. And that's when I wrote to the MMC that we have this politician who came with his keep of 23 years of age, and this is what he did. And believe me, that was the last day the MMC or the FDA spoke to me. They did not connect with me after that. So my lesson was, stick to the truth and you will win. And you will always win. And that's when I decided, I knew it, that nothing works like honesty does. You may want to be dishonest for some time, but that is just a small-term arrangement in your life. So follow the path of honesty. And also, the good which came out of it was, I got a clear idea of now what to do with the FDA. Though that time, the products was not in my mind, because whatever. And I think I started realizing that I want to start my products only because I started missing the acne lotion and what patients were asking for. Things started going, and then 2020 happened and the pandemic hit. Just before the pandemic, I had spoken to a very dear friend of mine from the club, Kevin, I don't know if you remember, that I wanted to buy 2 very big laser machines, which were again, by that time I had gone technology crazy. I just wanted more systems into my clinic. So I wanted to buy 2 more machines. And at that time, Kevin had told me, probably you just buy one and wait for the other one. But I didn't listen to him. I bought both. And pandemic hit. So we had got 2 new lasers. And the pandemic was on. And we had to stop all work. And here there are 2 things. We are not only paying for the EMIs of the machines. We are paying for the clinic. We have a huge outgoing cost. And if you don't use these lasers, they stop. So whom are we going to use the lasers on? Because patients are not coming in. So we used to actually fire those shots in the air to just keep the lasers working. And that time I also realized while sitting in the clinic that my patients don't want just the lasers, they want some solutions. So I used to call up my pharmacist who was in Chennai, and we used to make small potions in a bottle, like a vitamin C or a salicylic acid, so for acne, for pigment, and we used to keep sending these bottles to our patients. And I started realizing that now what I need to do is just put a name on the bottle, because they were getting confused what we are sending. So I just put my name on it, put the name of the ingredient, and I started sending my patients. And that's when the whole idea of the product journey came into my mind. And I think 2021 is when we started making the products with a label, and we started still dispensing from the clinic. And it's been going on. Now we are in 2024. We have a product line of around 8 SKUs, and we have a patient bank of more than 1,200 people who have used our products, and we have a clinical evidence journey on the same. So I think we are ready to hit the market now, and we just started our Instagram sales last week. So before I get into the product thing, I want you all to see this one statistics that they say that 4 hours of a week a person spends on skincare. And it is not a joke. 4 hours every single week. That is around 20 minutes every single day. So it is something that we may want to look into. Also, the skincare product market growth has been phenomenal. If you see, the gray is the skincare that people use for the face, and the yellow is what they use as a sunscreen. So these are the only 2 product ranges which are growing, and that's where my product journey is about. We are into skincare for the face and sunscreens. And also the sales have been more only offline. So that black thing is the online. So the online journey is actually only beginning. When I was told that the D2C market is now crowded, but in reality, the D2C market is just growing. So these are my products. We have multiple SKUs. These are just 4, but we have 7. So I am actually just on the brink of an entrepreneurial journey. मेरा picture अभी बाकी है. The doctor journey is on, but I've realized that I don't want this thing to end with me. I want it to go on. I've just thrown something into the universe. I'm just hoping that it comes true. And I am looking for, I'm looking for love from all of you, which you all have given me abundantly. The club, its members, they've all been with me, and so has my family. So I would like to say that if I were to summarize my life, which it has been, I would say that my work and myself is a tribute to my medical representative father. It's a tribute to all the obstacles in my life. The FDA raid, which could have destroyed me, the floods which destroyed my laser but could have destroyed more, the powerful people who thought they could stop me. And moreover, I've realized that whenever there is a crisis, there is an adrenaline thing, an adrenaline jump in me. I skip a couple of beats, but I also realize that I'm alive. And my core is science. I've realized that science is the truth, and if I can combine the science with the entrepreneurial journey, maybe it is a winning combination. So science is what I'm going to stick to, and I think I will end this thing with with a share, which actually I read on Clubmates the other day. So sometimes it helps to go on Clubmates. And this share was by Faiz, and it says, it is something like this, that कुछ लोग तुम्हें समझाएंगे, कुछ लोग तुम्हें समझाएंगे, वो खौफ तुम्हें दिलवाएंगे, वो खौफ तुम्हें दिलवाएंगे कि जो है वो भी खो सकता है, जो है वो भी खो सकता है, इस राह में रेजिन है इतने, रेजिन means robbers, thieves, इस राह में रेजिन है इतने, कुछ और यहाँ हो सकता है, लेकिन कुछ और तो अक्सर होता है, इस लम्हे में जो तुम जिंदा हो, वो लम्हा तुमसे जिंदा है, ये वक्त नहीं फिर आएगा, तू कर गुजर अपनी करनी, जो होगा देखा जाएगा. Thank you.
A louder applause, please, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Falguni. There is no words that can top yours. All I can say is that honest storytelling is the best kind of speech, obviously. We are all spellbound by what we have heard our 4 speakers speak tonight. Thank you very much. It's late in the evening. It's a weekday. We must be hungry and also thirsty, maybe for a drink. So I will let you all go and have a little bit of a party, if we can still. But before we do, I'd invite my GOAT teammates here, please, all of you. And we'd like to present a memento to our speakers so that they can remember this evening. We'll remember it for a very long time, but it will be just a token of our gratitude for your time and for the storytelling and for all the efforts. Oh, he's gone to the car to bring it. He forgot about it. Right, yes, if you have any questions to ask any of the speakers or any comments. Yes, please. You have a mic? Let us know who it is for.
It's for Mr. Girish, Nadkarni. Yes, sorry, sir. So, very well explained all your achievements and deals. I just wanted to ask you, obviously, when you invest in listed space, it's much easier when it comes to compared to unlisted and especially startups. So if you can throw light, what is the differentiating factor, and what are the challenges when you invest in startups? So that will help us for those willing to invest in unlisted space.
So in case of startups, it is obviously better that you select number 1 company and not number 2. Even if it is at higher valuation, always go for number 1 because there's a higher probability that it will survive. That is one. Number 2, which is in private equity business as well as everything we look for three things. One is promoter, the other one is again promoter, and a promoter. There's nothing else. Because the business can go up and down, as Falguni was saying, but if the person behind it is strong and has a right mind to navigate the business, he can do it.
So what is the definition of strong promoter?
So strong promoter is one who is very innovative in his approach and solves the problem. From private equity perspective, we also want him to have ethical values, so that he manages all the stakeholders well and doesn't profit himself. Number three is that he should have vision. Most of the people do the business which is for 3 years, 4 years. Very few people we have seen that they have the vision. They know exactly what they want to do in 10 years. Almost like they have scripted what will happen. So that sort of thing. I've been on the boards of various early stage company, and recently in last 2 years I have seen some sort of a trend where there is a FOMO. FOMO is I'm seeing the young kid from BITS Pilani in his first year coming and making a very strong pitch, and all IC members are voting for it, saying that we want to invest. And then in a closed meeting when we say, why you want to invest? Oh, Matrix has invested, and then Kalari Capital has invested, and we need to invest. So it has become like a fear of losing. Yeah. And a lot of people have invested that way also, right? Sometimes you are lucky, you can make money. Sometimes you are not lucky. Better to distribute your investment in many rather than one. Like create a basket of investment. And I think 2 or 3 do well, I think you are done.
Thank you so much.
Again for Girish, you took me back to my residency days, talking about the JJ hostel and all that. So whatever you spoke about the hostels and the big venture that you're doing, I thought it was only for the private institutions and private colleges. Could you be part of doing something for the government hostels or the government, especially the medical, the hospital hostels? The living conditions are pathetic. Is like a level. It is worse than that.
Right.
Maybe things have changed over the times that I have been a resident 25, 26 years back.
No, they are not changed.
They're not changed. So if you could change the setup of one government college also,
right,
in terms of hostel, it would be really something.
No, you are absolutely 100% right. In fact, we have been trying with BMC. There are 6 medical colleges are with BMC, and one is with, I think, state government, JJ. The rest all are with BMC, and we have been pitching to them. And anything in government goes through a bidding process. There is and it is not a simple bidding process, that. But what we are also doing with, there's a government is coming out with already come out with a triple IT. Like after IIT, there's a triple IT, information technology. And they have set up almost 7 to 8 hostels, colleges. And all of them don't have, good quality hostels. So we have pitched to them, and then government also realized that better to spend money on education and academic institution, not on hostels, because it's a very passive investment. So as a result, now from next 2 months, if the election comes, it will stop because of the code of conduct. But otherwise, a lot of bids will come, and we can bid. I'm sure other people for the other funds also will bid. But this is happening. But it is very slow.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. All the speakers were phenomenally brilliant, very very inspiring. My question is to Falguni. Falguni, as I say, good fortune comes dressed as adversity or bad decision. And that's what your theme was, like whatever you did in retrospect, it all proved to be great. In the middle of the COVID, just before that, rather, you called to ask me that should I buy those 2 machines? And I guided you not to. And you still went ahead and did it. Please tell me today that was the best decision that you ever made in your life. Make me really very happy.
So yeah, he in very good faith told me don't buy, but that time what was happening is I was getting very restless because I get very restless if there is anything status quo. I need something to happen. I need life to go on. And I thought at best, what am I going to lose? Money. So I said, let me go ahead with it. And I did get a very good deal because nobody was buying at that time. So a lot of deals what they gave us were good. So yes, I got it, and you will not believe both the machines came while there were no patients. And I went back home and I asked Girish, how long do you think this is going to last? He said 2 years. I was like, you are kidding. He said, believe me, it's going to last for 2 years. But yes, it turned out to be good because I think they are really doing the best in my clinic today, both the lasers.
So please give me some credit to make sure that our journey was very successful.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's now do the presentation ceremony. And Falguni, would you like to be first this time?
I have
Yes.
a question for Falguni. Can you tell us more about your skin product, like the best basic 3 products which we can go for?
So my skin products are formulated on the concept of actives. Actives are what is absorbed into your skin over a moisturizer or anything, so it's directly absorbed. So my best 3 products, as per it would be like choosing from your kids, but I like my vitamin C, the hyaluronic acid, and the retinol. And of course, I will not call sunscreen as a product, I will call sunscreen as a necessity if you're using even one of these 3. So I think those are my top 4.
You have to try them and buy them, right?
Dr. Barushali can just stand up 2 minutes, introduce herself.
Okay.
She's a well-known nutritionist.
Yeah, so thanks, Suresh. Myself, Dr. Suchita Bhanushali, and so met him today morning at the club, and he's like, you have to attend this session. I'm so glad that he told me about this talk, and it's wonderful, meeting so many wonderful people and inspiring stories. I'm glad I'm here.
Thank you, Dr. Bhanushali. Thank you for attending. Falguni, please come here. And Mr. Lalit Vashisht, our Go Talk organizing committee. Thank you. Nice. This is your dabba. Let's have Mr. Dang, would you please come forward? Mr. Milan Naik. Thank you, sir. Captain Bakshi, could I request you to please come forward? And Saurabh? Thank you, sir. बहुत सही, क्या philosophy है, very nice.
Yeah, all the very good speakers, but I would like to comment on Saurabh. I think the next venture should be a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, he's almost there. Nakul, Penna, can I request you to please come over? And Mr. Girish Nadkarni, please come. And Mr. and Mrs. Suresh have got something special for our speakers that they have thought of bringing. Can I request the speakers to come forward one more time, please? Oh, how nice.
So that's no reason why we've chosen a lot of Carnegie Mellon. I had a T-shirt which said Carnegie Mellon Dad, and she had a Carnegie Mellon Mom.
Oh.
So that.
Mr. Nadkarni, would you come forward again once more, please?
Girish and I go back long years. I don't know how many million times we've had discussions on so many things. Girish has always been a very, very insightful man.
Thank you. And Mr. Naik, please come. Yeah.
Excellent presentation. Thank you, Girish. Love the chat between Steve Ballmer and Bill Gates. Thank you.
Lovely presentation, as always. Thank you very much, everyone. Dinner is ready. Please come out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for coming by. Wonderful.
Is that drink there? Go and see if there's a drink.
ये देखो सुरेश ये ना ये सिर्फ आप ही को फॉलो कर रहे हैं दिस गाइस जस्ट फॉलोइंग यू
नो नो मेरे को कोई चैनल देखता ही नहीं है मेरे को देखता ही नहीं है
वो जैसे होता है ना देवों के देव महादेव भूतों के भूत महादेव you're a drama queen you're so natural so good on stage was you getting anxious over the last 2 days just keep calling me once you're on the stage you're like an actor like Shahrukh Khan suddenly you go like Very